I'm curious though, and you and I were chatting about this before, that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I got a system. But then you get in and the system is, well, just get in and throw some elbows and figure it out.
Right.
You have some sort of examples of maybe where people thought they had a system and it really wasn't as strong, or maybe where you've discovered some unconventional systems as with you've worked with businesses?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to find a lot of times that people, once they get to a certain size, will lay claim to having, oh, I know my numbers pretty well, and I have goals and I have things that I watch. And then you just scratch the surface just a little bit and come to find out that really, there's really nothing much there. I had one guy tell me that, well, labor is one of the biggest components of my business, right? My payroll cost is a huge percentage of our revenue. So I watch it like a hawk. Great. Let's take a look at the financials and see what that looks like. Literally on the financials, there is one line, payroll expense. That's it. And I go, well, okay. So tell me a little bit about, who works there. Well, we've got the operations people and the sales people and the admin people. You got one line, payroll expense. So you're watching it like a hawk. How? Like a hawk that needs glasses from a long way away. Like what kind of hawk is this?
Right.
So, right. So let's break it down into, at least, right, sort of the billable versus non-billable in his situation, right? That kind of made sense. In other situations, you might have people who are, contributing to the cost of goods sold. They're the manufacturing floor guys, and then they're the, non-manufacturing. There's lots of ways to do it depending on the business. But if you're really keeping an eye on it, then you'd want to know not just the total expense, right? That, okay, overall payroll is 55% of revenue, but how much are the people who are generating revenue versus the overhead people, or the people contributing to the cost of goods sold versus the, right? Or if you've got a roofing company, the people on the roof versus the people that go out and
Right.
do the estimates versus the people who schedule. Let's break some buckets out there and understand what's the capacity of each of these positions. And then that tells us how many roofs can we do and when do I need to hire more roofers, but I don't need more schedulers because the scheduler still has. And they go, oh wow, I never thought of it. Oh, that's wow, okay. Like, then what did that take me? 2 minutes to spit out, right? So and another, you take 30 minutes to kind of figure out how you're going to integrate that into the financials. And now you can watch much more closely. It's not payroll is 55% of revenue, but the roofers who work on my roofing business are 20% of labor. And then the guys that do this and that, right? And that's how it stacks to 55% now. But what if I could get that to 50%? What does that drop to the bottom line? So, those are the kind of things when people say, oh yeah, I know my stuff, I've set goals. Okay, well, let's talk about that a little bit more. And a lot of times they're, oh wow, okay. Now let's say, you've got a goal for the year, but how about for the quarter? Well, I don't
Right.
know. I guess a quarter of the year's goal. You don't generally grow in a straight line, right? So
That's right. That's right.
and what does that mean for what's your hiring budget? Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then they come to me. Can I afford to hire somebody? That's probably a good question. We should probably figure out the answer to that. What? So I think there's a lot of opportunity, not just in building general processes like, how do we write an invoice or how do we create a customer estimate, but from the financial side, how do we know how much we should be spending on labor or supplies or insurance or marketing? What's the value of a customer? What's the value of a lead? How many leads does it take to get one customer? Those are all good numbers to know. And the more you're conversant in that, I think the easier it is to then spot problems early. We need about 10 leads a month just to stay even. This month we've only gotten 6. Well, that explains a lot. That's why cash flow is getting tighter. And da, da, da. So how do we, what's different? How do we get back to 10 leads? And then if 10 leads is worth so many sales, how do we get 15 leads? And then what do we need to flow through to that? None of this is hard or secret or anything. It's just you either put the time in, and it's not a ton of time, but put the time in to do it, figure it out, and then track it, or assign other people to be responsible for different sections of it. Or, you're kind of winging it, which a lot of people can be successful winging it. But then when something goes wrong or they hit a ceiling, they don't understand. Like, well, I don't know. I don't know what's different. I don't know why I can't break through. I don't know why we can't get past this. I don't know why, even though we feels like we're bigger, I'm taking less home. There's answers to all those things. It just takes a little bit more effort to get the data out in a way that's useful.
Yeah, well, and you create such a scenario of there's so many folks that are just sort of pulling their hair out, not knowing what's happening, and the time that they spend stressing about not knowing what's happening, or kind of running around trying to figure it out. If they took that time to sort of build the systems that allow them to do some forecasting, not only would they not have this sort of time suck of trying to figure it out the next month or the next time that it happens, then they also get the peace of mind of knowing I'm confident I'm going to hit my revenue forecast because I know that for every 10 leads I talk to, on average, one of them turns into a proposal, and that proposal on average is about this size. And I close, 3 out of, every 4 that I present, and I've got enough leads in the pipeline. So I'm probably going to hit that forecasted revenue, which means I can hire that new person, or I can at least make payroll, or whatever that scenario might be. But really having that system that's got feedback loops in it, not only just well, here's a process of how you do something, but actually a system for generating an out. And